Hey there, Neutron Tech crew. Today's episode features Mr. Build It tackling an incredible restoration that'll blow your mind. What we're looking at here is the ultimate showdown between boundless enthusiasm and a house that's basically falling apart at the seams. This place has seen better days, that's for sure. Our guy Mr. Build has really got his work cut out for him with this wreck of a property. We're talking years upon years of total abandonment, plus a whole mess of botched repair jobs that somehow made things worse. You know the type, previous owners who thought they could DIY their way through major structural problems with duct tape and wishful thinking. First up on the hit list, the garage, which he's planning to transform into his personal workshop. To keep everything from collapsing during demo, they brought in some temporary supports using stacked lumber to handle the roof's weight. It's like playing Jenga in reverse. You've got to prop everything up before you start pulling pieces out. The cool thing is, they saved whatever wood they could, not just because it's the right thing to do environmentally, but also to keep some of that original character alive. Every salvaged board tells a story, and incorporating them back into the design adds soul that new materials just can't match. Next came the big one, tearing down and rebuilding the entire roof from scratch. Talk about a disaster zone. That original roof was completely shot, full of squishy spots and boards warped beyond recognition. You could literally poke your finger through some sections like they were made of wet cardboard. After stripping everything down to bare rafters, the crews swapped out all the damaged pieces with fresh kiln-dried lumber. The difference was night and day. Those new boards were straight as arrows compared to the twisted mess they replaced. They cut new OSB panels right there on site, fitting them perfectly over the trusses in this neat overlapping pattern, kind of like laying bricks. The real horror show was discovering layer after layer of rotting shingles hiding under some raggedy tarp held down with random wood scraps. It was like archaeological excavation, except instead of finding treasures, they were uncovering decades of really bad decisions. Every single OSB panel got measured and cut precisely on location to guarantee perfect coverage across those trusses. No gaps, no overlaps that could cause problems later. Precision was everything here. They rolled out this high-tech synthetic underlayment that breathes while keeping water out. Pretty smart stuff that's light years ahead of old-school tar paper. When it came to the walls, wherever they found original wood siding worth saving, they cleaned it up, hit it with primer, and worked it into the new design. Some of those old boards had this beautiful patina you just can't fake, weathered by decades of sun and rain into something special. The game changer was adding this black weather-resistant barrier. The pros call it WRB. This stuff is genius. It blocks moisture from getting in while letting trapped vapor escape, keeping the walls healthy and dry from the inside out. Think of it like Gore-Tex for your house. Water can't get in, but moisture can get out. With the walls all prepped and ready, they moved on to installing fresh siding. Each piece had to be measured, cut, and fitted with millimeter precision. Gaps or misalignment would stick out like a sore thumb once painted. The crew brought out the big guns, a commercial paint sprayer, and laid down several coats of top-shelf exterior paint in these soft, neutral colors. We're talking multiple passes here, building up layers for durability and depth of color. For all those tricky spots around vents and the chimney, they switched to rollers and brushes for precision work. Every corner, every edge got personal attention to ensure complete coverage. That spray job didn't just make everything look amazing, it also added serious protection against sun damage and weather. Moving to the courtyard transformation, they broke up and leveled the old soil with a cultivator, smoothing out all those annoying dips and bumps. The ground looked like a miniature mountain range before they started. Years of settling and erosion had created this uneven mess that would flood in some spots and stay bone dry in others. After getting the earth just right, they spread and packed down a layer of crushed gravel using a power roller. This creates crucial drainage and prevents future settling. Water flows through instead of pooling on top. Here's where things get really modern. They laid down these plastic grid panels over the prepared ground. These bad boys interlock together like giant Lego blocks, and they're made from recycled high-strength polymer, which spreads out weight evenly and protects your feet. No more pavers sinking into soft spots or popping up at weird angles. This system keeps everything locked in place. The crew then hand-placed pavers in this gorgeous herringbone pattern on top. Not only does it look fantastic, but that interlocking design makes everything super sturdy. Each paver had to be set just right, with consistent gaps for the sand. To finish it off, they swept polymeric sand into all the gaps between pavers. Next up, they anchored pressure-treated 6x6 posts into the patio corners and connected them with horizontal beams, filling in between with 2x4 or 2x6 lattice pieces. These weren't just decorative, each post got sunk deep into concrete footings to handle wind loads and the weight of climbing plants. Now you're probably sitting there thinking, why would anyone bother fixing up such a beat-up old place? It looks like an absolute mountain of work, plus you're stuck working within someone else's old design choices that could throw curveballs left and right. Every wall you open might reveal another surprise, usually not the good kind. But here's the thing, more and more people are choosing to restore old houses instead of starting fresh, and it's not just about saving money. These folks see existing buildings as opportunities packed with untapped potential. Here's what makes this approach so smart. Most of these older homes are sitting on foundations that have already proven they can stand the test of time. We're talking concrete or stone foundations that have weathered decades of freeze-thaw cycles, settling, and everything else nature throws at them. Plus, they come with all the basics already in place: utilities, framing, proper zoning approval, you name it. The electrical might need updating, and the plumbing could use work, but the roots are already there. Sure, building new might seem cleaner and easier, but it actually involves way more complicated and expensive foundation work. You need soil tests, engineering reports, and sometimes you hit bedrock or water tables that throw your whole plan off. When you take on an abandoned property, you get to put your money and energy straight into making improvements that you'll actually see and enjoy. Looking at the money side of things, breathing new life into a forgotten property makes a ton of financial sense. You can usually snag these abandoned or distressed homes for way less than market value, which opens the door for folks who'd be completely priced out of new construction. We're talking properties selling for 30 to 50% below comparable move-in ready homes. Yeah, renovations cost money, but at least you can plan for those expenses and tackle them bit by bit instead of all at once. Need a new roof? Do it this year. Kitchen renovation? Maybe next summer. This staged approach helps with cash flow and lets you live in the space while improving it. Plus, lots of areas offer sweet tax breaks and grants for fixing up old homes, especially if there's historical value or it helps revitalize the neighborhood. Some programs cover up to 20% of renovation costs through tax credits. That's real money back in your pocket. From a practical standpoint, the house already has an approved building footprint, which means way less red tape and you can get moving faster. No variance hearings, no setback issues, no angry neighbors worried about their views being blocked. The bureaucratic heavy lifting was done decades ago. Now let's talk about the actual work involved. Fixing up an existing structure has its ups and downs. Demo and damage repair definitely need careful planning, but you get to keep most of the bones of the house intact. Those old-growth lumber frames are often stronger than anything you can buy today. Trees that grew slowly over centuries produced incredibly dense, stable wood. That means less time and money spent on new framing, surveying, and way less material ending up in the dump. For the folks doing the work, it's this amazing mix of traditional craftsmanship and creative problem solving. They're constantly figuring out how to bring old architecture up to modern standards for insulation, layout, and style. How do you add central air to a house built before AC existed? Where do you run Ethernet cables through plaster walls? These puzzles keep the work interesting and develop skills you'd never need in cookie-cutter new construction. The best part? You can fix up different sections at different times. Make one area livable while still working on another. Take this garage renovation, for example. It perfectly shows how working with what's already there can actually save labor. Those existing walls, even damaged, provided reference points for everything else. Height, width, even electrical box locations were already established. In typical new builds, things like kitchen cabinets and fixtures usually get outsourced to specialty shops. Speaking of kitchens, this one needed a complete overhaul as part of the bigger transformation. The old layout probably made sense in the 1950s when kitchens were closed-off workspaces, but modern living demands openness and flow. They did test runs with the tiles to figure out spacing and alignment, making sure everything lined up perfectly around corners, outlets, and edges. Nothing worse than getting to the last row and realizing your pattern is off by half an inch. Now, comfort is huge when you're bringing an old house back to life, and a lot of that comes down to windows and doors. These are your barriers against the elements, and they've improved dramatically over the decades. In houses built way back when, the original windows and doors usually have zero insulation, terrible seals, and no thermal barriers whatsoever. While all this was happening, the living room got its own makeover centered around the fireplace, always the heart and soul of any home. There's something primal about gathering around a fire that connects us to thousands of years of human history. In older houses, fireplaces look great but often suck heat right out of the room if they haven't been updated properly. Original designs focused on burning wood, not efficiency. Most heat went straight up the chimney. As the workshop crew was busy building custom furniture, the fireplace got dressed up with beautiful stone veneer. This wasn't just about looks, though it certainly transformed the space visually. This stuff soaks up heat from the fire and releases it slowly into the room, which helps keep temperatures steady and comfortable. Throughout this whole project, wood keeps showing up as the star material. It's renewable, workable, beautiful, and ties into our deep connection with natural materials. Starting with those custom cabinets, all the woodwork built on-site shows real attention to personal style and craftsmanship. No mass-produced particle board here, we're talking solid wood construction that'll last generations. Picking just the right color and finish was crucial for making the most of that newly opened floor plan. Too dark and it closes the space in, too light and it might look cheap. They went with bright neutral tones that really make all the architectural details pop. Installing parquet flooring was a bold choice that paid off big time. This isn't your basic strip flooring that goes down in predictable lines. Unlike boring regular planks, parquet brings patterns and geometric interest right into the foundation of the space. Now here's where things got really tricky. Rebuilding the basement stairs while dealing with a floor hatch built into the main level. This is the kind of challenge that separates skilled craftspeople from weekend warriors. When you're installing parquet, which needs everything to be perfectly level, even tiny misalignments matter. A quarter-inch height difference becomes a trip hazard and ruins the visual flow. This staircase had to do more than just connect floors. It needed to blend seamlessly with everything else. Every tread, every riser had to be calculated precisely to meet code while working with existing floor heights. As they laid the parquet, they paid extra attention to keeping the pattern consistent around that hatch. The wood grain, the geometric pattern, everything had to flow like the hatch wasn't even there when closed. The original bathroom was typical of its era, cramped, with outdated fixtures, old plumbing, a built-in tub, and barely enough room to turn around. You've seen the type where you have to stand on the toilet to close the door and forget about two people using the space at once. Ripping out that tub was a game changer for the whole space. In restoration work, this kind of subtraction is actually liberating. It lets you completely reimagine how the space works, not just update what's already there. Instead of working around existing fixtures, you get to ask, how do we really want to use this room? By knocking down some walls, they opened everything up, creating way more room, both physically and visually. Light can flow, air can circulate, and people can actually move around comfortably. Walls that used to box in a tub or hide a linen closet got torn down to create smooth flow between the vanity, shower, and entrance. Instead of a maze of tiny compartments, you get one cohesive space that feels luxurious despite the same square footage. This reshaping opens up whole new possibilities for how the bathroom functions. Double sinks become possible, storage can be better integrated, and natural light can reach every corner. They built the new framing with standard 2x4 kiln-dried lumber, carefully aligned with shims and braces. Every stud had to be perfectly plumb and properly spaced. This framework would support tile, fixtures, and daily use for decades. Then they covered the walls with moisture-resistant drywall, that green stuff you see at the hardware store. This specialized material resists mold and moisture damage way better than regular drywall, crucial in a humid bathroom environment. Next came a waterproofing membrane like Schluter Dytra, rolled out and pressed into a layer of thin-set mortar. This orange plastic-looking material might not seem like much, but it's the unsung hero preventing water damage and mold growth. The membrane gets worked into every corner, overlapped at seams, and creates an impervious barrier beneath the tile. Finally, they installed tiles on top using high-performance mortar for maximum grip. For the walls, they installed rectangular ceramic tiles over properly prepped and primed surfaces. The substrate preparation is crucial. Any imperfections telegraph through tile and grout. They spread adhesive with a notch trowel to create an even base. Super important for tiles to stick properly. Those ridges in the mortar aren't just for show. They ensure complete coverage and prevent hollow spots that could crack later. The transformation from those dark wall panels to bright white paint completely changes how the space feels. Dark colors absorb light and make spaces feel smaller, basic physics and psychology working against you. The white wainscoting bounces light around, making everything feel bigger and cleaner, and it ties in perfectly with the white tile floors and fixtures. Time to tackle the shower area. This requires serious precision and smart design thinking. Water is relentless. Give it any opportunity and it'll find a way to cause damage. Starting from completely gutted and reframed walls, they begin by waterproofing everything properly. Every joint, every screw hole, every corner gets attention. This special membrane system is absolutely critical for keeping water from seeping into the walls. Down at floor level, they install a pre-sloped shower base using thin-set mortar. The slope has to be perfect, too little, and water pools, too much, and it's uncomfortable to stand on. This ensures water flows properly toward the drain without needing old-school mud beds. Those traditional mud bed installations required real skill to get the slope right. The drain connects with a special flange that works with the membrane system, creating a completely watertight seal that matches up with the floor's protective layer. Modern drains have multiple fail-safes built in. For a gorgeous slip-resistant floor, they install mosaic tiles in a classic black and white hexagon pattern. This isn't just about aesthetics. Smaller tiles mean more grout lines, which provide better traction when wet. The walls get tiled in a clean vertical stack pattern that makes the room feel taller. Our eyes naturally follow lines, and vertical lines draw the gaze upward. They maintain perfect spacing using cross spacers and laser levels to keep everything geometrically precise. One tile out of alignment would bug you every single day. This vertical layout also helps water flow better by reducing horizontal grout lines where gunk tends to build up. Having fewer horizontal grout lines means fewer places for water and soap scum to collect. It's the little design decisions like this that separate a good bathroom from a great one. Plus, this smart tile sizing means access panels and built-in shelves integrate cleanly into the overall design. No awkward cuts or tiny slivers of tile that look like afterthoughts. Even though the main membrane provides solid waterproofing, they add extra sealant at the seams for backup protection. Belt and suspenders approach. When it comes to water damage, you can't be too careful. Now we see Mr. Build It continuing his mission to maximize every inch of space. In older homes, storage was often an afterthought, but modern living requires places for all our stuff. First order of business, ripping out the totally ruined old flooring to reveal a subfloor that desperately needs help. Years of moisture, maybe some termite damage, who knows what else lurking under there, but the real genius shows up in how they design and build the shelving system. They level and attach simple supports directly to the wall studs behind new panels, guaranteeing these shelves can handle serious weight for years. No sagging shelves full of books here. These babies are built to last. From there, they build horizontal shelving that seems to float against a dark painted back wall. The visual effect is striking. Shelves appear to hover in space. That black backdrop creates this amazing contrast with the light wood shelves and wall panels. The closet floor gets fancy stone-like tiles laid in thin-set mortar over fresh substrate board. This choice shows attention to detail. Even storage spaces deserve quality finishes. Not only does it look sharp, but it's also super easy to keep clean, essential for high-traffic areas. Vacuum, mop, done. No carpet to trap dust and allergens. The coolest feature? LED strip lights tucked under the bottom shelf, creating this subtle upward glow. Let's talk about the bigger picture here. Restoration massively shrinks the carbon footprint compared to building new. Every piece of lumber, every brick, every foundation stone represents carbon locked away decades ago. All that energy already invested in the existing walls, framing, roof, and foundation gets preserved. The carbon cost was paid long ago. Mr. Build It skips all the environmental damage from mining, transporting, and manufacturing new materials. On a deeper level, bringing a home back to life is about being a good steward. These buildings are part of our cultural heritage, even humble houses like this one. It honors the history built into the structure while giving it a new chapter through thoughtful updates. Someone built this place with their own hands, raised families here, made memories. Labor-wise, restoration involves serious problem-solving skills, but it dodges those massive upfront costs. Plus, you don't need massive equipment or major site prep, no excavators, no concrete trucks, no crane rentals. This cuts down on both environmental impact and the sheer amount of work required. Smaller equipment means less fuel burned, less noise for neighbors, and less disruption to the site. That garage started as a sketchy, outdated space with failing panels and serious structural problems, water damage, maybe some rot, definitely some questionable previous repairs. But it also gave them an existing shell that could be strategically improved rather than demolished. Think of it as inheriting the skeleton and just needing to add new muscle and skin. This meant they could keep the basic shape and size while focusing effort on specific improvements. No arguing with planning departments about setbacks or height restrictions. The work went into stripping, evaluating, and reinforcing rather than starting from scratch. During the courtyard restoration, for instance, they took an eco-friendly approach by creating spaces for plants. This wasn't just about throwing down some grass and calling it done. By rebuilding the garden and filling it with various plants, the creator does more than just pretty up the outside. He creates this living connection between the building and nature around it. Plants clean the air, provide habitat for beneficial insects, and create a microclimate that helps regulate temperature. From a design perspective, plants act like the glue between hard architecture and the natural world. All those straight lines and rigid angles need something to soften them. They soften all those straight lines from the new pavers and restored walls, adding curves, texture, and natural rhythm. Watch how shadows from leaves dance across those herringbone pavers throughout the day. While buildings tend to be rigid and neutral colored, plants bring in flowing shapes, movement, and colors that change with the seasons. Smart plant placement also frames views, creates distinct areas, and makes spaces feel deeper and more open. A tall ornamental grass here, a flowering shrub there. Each plant has a job to do. Plus, you get practical benefits like shade, privacy, and noise reduction. All of this gets finished off with a new entrance fence. This final touch creates that important shift from public to private space, giving the renewed home a sense of being properly enclosed. It's the difference between a house sitting naked on its lot and one that feels properly dressed. Design-wise, the fence frames the whole property like a picture. Just like a good frame makes artwork pop, the right fence makes the house shine. It guides your eye toward the home's front while hinting at the design style you'll find inside. Materials, colors, height. Every choice sends a message about what's beyond. From the moment someone approaches, that fence starts a conversation about what's beyond. Setting expectations through its materials and style. Is it welcoming, imposing, playful? The fence sets the tone. Now you can really appreciate how the windows line up, how the siding looks, and all the texture in that restored front. Step inside the house, and it hits you. This restoration wasn't just a fix-up job. It was a complete transformation that gave this old place a whole new life.